Today we are going to be swapping out a turbo. What is going on YouTube? Today we are going to be swapping out a turbo on a 2004 Subaru Forester XT. Now this process is going to be the same for 04 to 08 Forester XTs, 02 to 2014 WRXs, all STIs. 05 on up legacies are going to be a little bit differently. The 15 and newer WRXs are obviously going to be way different. The newer Foresters, the 09 on up is going to be a little bit different. You can still use a lot of these same techniques. I think I might be wrong on the WRXs actually. It's going to be, it'll be 04 to 07 is going to be the same, and then 08 on up is going to be a little bit different. But let's get started. To start, we are going to remove the intercooler. So 12mm bolt there, 12mm bolt there. There's a clamp there, and then remove that clamp for the bypass valve right there. So just compress that with some pliers. And you're also going to need to remove these two hoses here and the hose there. Next up is to remove the turbo heat shield. There should be five or six bolts. They're all 10mm heads holding the heat shield to the turbo. Next up is the downpipe removal. So there's two bolts with nuts on the top. There's a nut on the back side toward the transmission over there on a stud, a nut right there on that stud, and then down below there's another nut with stud. And I'd highly recommend spraying these with WD-40 before we start loosening up those bolts. We have a few more bolts to pull off. So there's a mount right here holding it to the tranny, the downpipe to the tranny. There's another mount right there, and then two bolts right there holding it to the rest of the exhaust system. And those are all 14mm heads. Now the last thing is to disconnect the O2 sensor. You can either pull it out of the exhaust or just disconnect the wire right here, this little clip. I find it much easier just to disconnect the wiring instead of pulling the whole O2 sensor out of the exhaust. We now have to remove a few lines from the turbo. So there's this boost line down here. After we squeeze that clamp, we can pull that guy off. And then there is the coolant line that goes from the little tank up here down to the turbo. So we need to pull both of those off. There's also another little boost line that goes to the compressor itself down there that we gotta pull off. All right, we are getting down to the last few bolts. So there's a nut there, and I don't know if you guys can see, but there's a nut on the back side we gotta pull off. Those connect the turbo to the up pipe. And then there's that that hose clamp right there from the turbo inlet to the turbo. That is a 10mm that we need to loosen up. Next up is this oil line right here, the oil feed line. It's a 14mm banjo bolt, so we're gonna pull that guy out. Now the last thing is the coolant return line. So you see that hose clamp right there? Compress the hose clamp, pull the clamp back this way, pull that line off. From there, the turbo will be ready to remove. You're gonna have to wiggle it a little bit to get it up and out of the car. Installation of the new turbo is going to be completely opposite of taking the old turbo off. So you're just going to throw the turbo on, get the oil feed line on, get all the coolant lines on, get it all bolted down, get the new gaskets. Make sure you use new gaskets on this turbo, and you'll be done. The only thing I would recommend before putting the oil feed line on is filling the turbo up with oil. So just grab like an oil squirter can and squirt some oil into the top of the turbo where that oil feed line goes on, and you should be good to go. I really hope this video helped you guys. If it did, hit that thumbs up button down below, subscribe button right up in that corner. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Oh, and if you want to see me beat the shit out of this eBay turbo, stay tuned for next video.